impromptu live stream on this Wednesday night. Can't believe that we are pushing halfway through the month of November. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Dave Knapp. I'm ManOnMounjaro. We have this website called OnThePen.com where we discuss all things obesity medicines, rather anti-obesity medications like Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, and Zepbound. Compounds, basically GLP-1 medications is what they're most commonly known as, semaglutide being the most common one. And what I wanted to do tonight was just jump on live here and get a chance to hopefully expand the conversation outside of the GLP-1 bubble. Many of our followers at OnThePen are people who are already using some form of anti-obesity medication to treat their chronic disease. And it seems like oftentimes when we do these live streams, we will get people from outside the community in, and I'd like to engage with people who are just curious about GLP-1 medications. So if you're unfamiliar with what GLP-1s are, glucagon-like peptide 1. It's a hormone that's actually made in your body in response to consuming nutrients. So when you eat, your body releases what's called endogenous GLP-1. That GLP-1 binds to receptors in your cells that basically send signals throughout your body, signals to your brain that tell you you're full, signals to your liver to reduce the amount of glucose that it makes, signals to your pancreas to increase insulin production. So all of these things sort of come together to help regulate your metabolism. And what happens is people who become metabolically ill, hey Laura, hey Sandra, thank you for joining tonight. People who become metabolically ill become dysregulated in these hormones. People can have abnormal hormone receptors. People can have really high levels of something called DPP-4, which actually breaks down endogenous GLP-1. DPP-4 is basically a byproduct of gut bacteria, and when you become metabolically sick or if you're genetically predisposed, you can have higher levels of certain gut bacteria that produce DPP-4. And so it's going to destroy your endogenous GLP-1. Now, GLP-1 analogs are the medications that treat obesity, and they are basically synthetic versions, peptides that mimic these same hormones that are made in your gut. They bind to the receptor. But the great thing about the peptides is the peptides are wrapped in a fatty chain, a fatty acid, which allows them to not be broken down by DPP-4 quite as easily. So the half-life of GLP-1 medications is 5 to 7 days for the newer ones, where your endogenous GLP-1s endogenous GLP-1 that your body makes only lasts for a few minutes in your body. So oftentimes people will ask me, well, what do you think about these supplements that claim to increase your natural GLP-1? Well, what I say is great. You can get the same effect by just eating. That will increase the amount of GLP-1 in your body. But unfortunately, none of that will help it last long enough to make any meaningful impact on weight loss, satiety, glucose control, all of those things that the peptide versions of these medications do. So as I stated, I'd like to just sort of get the conversation outside of the GLP-1 bubble tonight, hopefully do some educating. If you are new here, drop an N in the chat next to your name. Let me know that you're new. Laura, Sandra, and Cheryl and Deb are not new, so thank you for being here and thank you for hanging out with us. Make sure that you hit the thumbs up button as you're coming in here. Some of the newer versions of these medications, like Zepbound, you may have heard of Zepbound. Its sister drug, Mounjaro, tirzepatide, is the active ingredient. Tirzepatide is the next generation, so not just GLP-1. So we talked about how GLP-1 is a hormone made in your body in response to nutrient intake. Another one is called GIP. That's gastroinhibitory polypeptide. It's another incretin hormone that basically does something very similar to GLP-1. It just does it through a different pathway. And GIP is cranked up in tirzepatide, where there's no GIP in semaglutide. It really helps people to see even better, more sustained weight loss with actually fewer side effects. So that's the new generation. Jamora, welcome. Thank you for being here. It's good to meet you. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're just jumping in. And welcome. Thank you for being here. Although you're new, you've watched some past videos, so great. I hope that you're subscribing, and we appreciate you coming here. Drop it in the comments of this video if you're taking a GLP-1 medication. If you are on the pen, let me know what you're on, how long you've been on it, and what kind of progress you're seeing with that. So yeah, we are are live here on YouTube tonight. Typically, we have a podcast that drops every Tuesday. It's going to be a rundown of the news for the week. And then we have a live show that happens every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Central. So sometimes in between, you'll catch us doing an impromptu live like this. And really, these impromptu lives are designed to pull more people into the community of the OnThePen friends that we have here. So what's the name of your sub? It's called Diophycetist, whatever that is. Anne's taking Zepbound down 60 pounds in 200 days. Amazing. That's amazing progress. That's great. Sandra's on Zepbound down 10 milligrams. On 10 milligrams down 50 pounds, 100 or so left to go. I am on tirzepatide. I've been on it for 2 years. I did a little sabbatical with semaglutide, but I'm down just around 11% of my body weight starting from my highest weight. So they've been a real game changer for me, and I'm type 2 diabetic, so they've really helped to control my blood sugars. Craig is 40 pounds down in 5 months on 7.5 milligram compound. Great, Craig. That's awesome progress, man. Congratulations. That's awesome. You do have to love that we get people in here that are not from the community, and so that's always interesting. Laura started MJ in July of 2022, lost 90 pounds, been on maintenance for over a year. That's amazing. 10 milligrams. Have you ever gone past that 10 milligrams? Just out of curiosity. Deb's on Zepbound 5, down 43 since May. Amazing. Amazing. 6 weeks ago, Steven started compound tirzepatide, down 35 pounds. Been following you just before, and you've been so helpful. You're welcome. Thank you for following. Really, really appreciate it. That's amazing. It's amazing how many people have benefited from these medications without ever even going to the top tier of what these medications have from a dosing standpoint. And then there are those of us who can't wait for higher doses, right? Teresa's on MJ. Thanks for being here, Teresa. If you're new here, drop an N in the chat next to your name. I'd love to welcome you by name, but make sure you hit the thumbs up button if you're just coming in here. That really helps other people see this. And then make sure you're subscribed because we've got a great channel here. We were the first on the internet to share news about GLP-1 medications, and many of you have been with us from the get-go. We have a website called OnThePen.com where you can learn more about these medications, current medications, and medications yet to come. So hope you'll check it out. On MJ 2.5 is Teresa, started in June of 2023, down 150 pounds. That's amazing. At goal. But not normal BMI, okay? Kidneys improved, cholesterol improved, heart failure improved, blood pressure normal, probably sleep apnea too, I'm gonna guess. Frederick's on Wegovy 1 milligram, down 55 pounds in 8 months, amazing. Frederick, are you getting access to, good access to Wegovy through your insurance, or are you using a savings card, just out of curiosity? 5 milligrams Zepbound on your 3rd month, 2nd week, lost 50 pounds in 3 months. That's amazing. That's incredible. On 5 milligrams Zepbound, that is the first therapeutic dose of Zepbound. I really think that not dosing up quickly is really, there's not like clinical trial data that bears this out too much, but not dosing up to hit goal, I think is the way to go if you can get there that way, because then you need less for maintenance. 73 pounds since January on 2.5. Amazing. There's another one. Lots of stories about these low doses of tirzepatide and people accomplishing their goals at those low doses. That's amazing. Kelly, a few weeks ago you subscribed. Thank you for being here. It's really great to have new subscribers here. Really appreciate it. Your mom said that she's kind of scared of it because she's found there've been a lot of deaths or side effects. So there have been some side effects. I mean, there definitely is side effects with these. It slows digestion. So if it slows digestion too much, that can be kind of a dangerous situation. There are not what I would say a lot of deaths associated with these medications. There are some reported in the FAERS database. Now, semaglutide, which has been around for, I don't know, 5 years now. There may be a cumulative total of 500 or I think it's about 375 deaths that are noted as patients who were on semaglutide when they died. But that's the FAERS database, and it doesn't mean that it was a causal, right? Just that it was mentioned as notable by the doctor. So Obviously no deaths in the clinical trials, a very well tolerated medication. Again, it just mimics a hormone that your body naturally makes. It just lasts for a lot longer in your body. I definitely, if your doctor's recommending it, I would trust your doctor and know that there are over 15 million people on these class of medications at this point. Over 33 million have been on them at one point or another. 15 million people on these medications. I think that they got a pretty good track record at this point. And contrary to popular belief, they've been around for a long time. GLP-1s have been around for 20 years. They've just gotten better and better, right? Especially at the weight loss side of it. Sandra's done all the things you suggested and nothing where, everybody's got their own kind of idea about how everyone else can achieve optimal health because they have accomplished some goals with it. But the reality is that diet culture has created this epidemic of obesity. I mean, it's really put people on a mental roller coaster and done a number on things people mentally. So here we never give any specific diet advice, only that you should be talking to a doctor, talking to a nutritionist, and finding something that works for you, because in the end, it's going to look a little bit different for everybody. Obesity is a disease that's on a spectrum. Not everybody experiences it the same way, right? And not everyone who is overweight has obesity either. So it's just some education for you tonight. Sean, welcome. Thank you for being here. 19 months on Mounjaro, life-changing. It's good to have you here, buddy. Thank you for hanging out with us for a few minutes tonight. Really appreciate it. Hey, if you're new here, drop an N in the chat for new. Let me know that you're new. I'd love to welcome you by name. If you have not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. We are on a mission to get to 15,000 followers here on YouTube. We're very close. We're 14,300 right now, so we just need 700 more. If you're not subscribed, now is the time to do it. Hit the thumbs up button too if you're enjoying the live stream tonight. Mackenzie, welcome. Good to have you here. Did 2.5 for 24 weeks, lost 44 pounds, went to 5 milligrams 3 weeks ago, and down another 5, so down 49 since May 15th. May 15th was not that long ago, and you are down a whopping 49 pounds. That is absolutely amazing. These medications are absolutely game changers. One of the things that we talk about here, a lot of people say that these medications are cheating. That's what I named this live stream tonight. It's not cheating. It's actually leveling the metabolic playing field. For somebody who's truly living with obesity, they are dysregulated in many, many hormones that are associated with your hunger signaling, the signaling of satiety in your brain. All these things get dysregulated, and GLP-1 comes along, these analogs, these basically pharmaceutical versions of these drugs, and they wrap them in a fatty molecule that makes them sort of not immune, but stronger. They last a lot longer in your body, and it levels the metabolic playing field because it allows people to get down to a weight where the visceral fat around their organs starts to melt away. Their body starts to sort of return to a homeostasis where they can actually have a fighting chance at maintaining their body weight in a healthy range. But once you become screwed up metabolically, most people are going to need some sort of medical intervention to fight that. That's why you've seen the steady increase of obesity since they've been measuring obesity in the United States. It's gone up. This past year, they reported that it went down for the first time in my lifetime. The reason is because people are getting treatment for a disease, right? Up until just the 1980s and 1990s is when they really started to understand that obesity isn't just a precursor to disease, it is a disease in and of itself. And there are many comorbidities that spread out from there, but it is recognized as a disease. That is because it is absolutely, obesity wreaks havoc on your biology, on your chemistry, on your whole life. I mean, the ravages that obesity does on a person's life, just not physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all those things is quite significant. So these medications level the metabolic playing field, and a lot of people don't like that because a lot of people enjoy the social currency of being thin, right? There is a morality sort of undertone attached to somebody's weight. And I think that many people, this isn't everybody who doesn't live with obesity, but many people who do not live with obesity do not understand it, and they do see it as a moral superiority, and so they enjoy a certain social currency and privilege of not living in an obese body, and so we've got a lot to overcome with education, but that's part of what we try to do here at OnThePen. Kelly says she needs the medication so badly. Jeremiah says, loves my glasses. Thank you. Appreciate that. Are the 503B pharmacies also having to potentially stop compounding also? Sorry, 503As. They're not going to have to stop, but they're doing custom formulations like mixing tirzepatide with B12, or they're doing non-commercially available doses. Whether they're going to be able to do that and serve all the patients, there's nearly 2 million people on compound between semaglutide and tirzepatide right now. Whether 503As are going to be able to fulfill that remains to be seen, because 503Bs are the pharmacies that can mass produce this stuff. 503A has to hold a prescription in their hand to be able to fill it. So whether they're going to be able to handle 2 million prescriptions remains to be seen, and whether doctors are going to want to write that in the face of what's likely going to come from Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk in the form of cease and desist letters. They have to have a medical necessity to be able to write those prescriptions, so it's going to be hard to defend that everybody all of a sudden needs a custom formulation, or everybody all of a sudden needs a dose that's not available commercially when they've been doing just fine on what's been available commercially, and with compounds sort of mirroring the commercial drug for the last few months or a couple of years. Thank you, Jamoro. I appreciate that. Yeah, Laura, if we could get insurance to cover that, is a huge battle, right? Anne's been treated much differently since losing 60 pounds. Yeah, I think that's probably something that many people start to notice. Liz is a slow loser, been on 15 milligrams for a year and a half, about 3 pounds per month. I've lost 35 pounds on your own and 90 on GLP-1s. That's amazing progress, Liz. Definitely do not sell yourself short. I don't know if you've seen what I've been doing lately, adding integrative peptides, which is the product Can't Wait. It's got an active ingredient called DNF10, which is a short chain peptide. That means you can take it orally. It doesn't get dissolved by your stomach acid because it's just a short chain peptide that's thought to work on leptin, the hormone associated with satiety, and ghrelin, the hormone that's associated with hunger. And I added that in about 6 weeks ago, and I've lost steady a pound a week since I started taking it after being plateaued and really struggling for a long, long time. So if y'all are interested, we now have a code. I found them, they didn't find me, but once I've been using it for a few weeks, I reached out to them. We got a code for you. If you're watching and you're interested in trying it, it is integrativepeptides.com, and then use the code OTP for OnThePen, OTP10, and many people are taking it. Some people say it doesn't do anything. Other people say it's doing great and working wonders and is like broken a stall. So definitely don't start taking something without talking to your doctor. Do your research on it. Don't just take my word for it. But it's been working wonderful for me, and I don't go a day without it. So I'm really thankful that I found it, and really thankful that they were willing to extend a discount to the OTP community, because as you know, one of the things is many of us are already paying out of pocket for a medication that's quite expensive. So I definitely wouldn't recommend it to somebody who could dose up on their medication. Like if you're not already at the 15 milligram, nothing's going to beat tirzepatide. But if you're looking for something to add it to give it a little boost, you may want to look into it. Do you happen to know if Ozempic makes addicts not want their addictions? So definitely there are receptors in the cells of your brain and the hypothalamus, and it regulates, sort of the impulsivity. And so they are testing Ozempic and other older GLP-1s in the treatment of alcohol addiction. They're treating it, they're testing it in the treatment of opioid addiction, because it sort of removes the pleasure for people out of some things that they once maybe had a propensity to overindulge in. And so yes, it's acting in a part of your brain that's very similar to or that also, sort of controls some of those impulses that people live with. And so that's one of the most interesting areas of research in incretin mimetics, is their ability to sort of act in the brain and quiet not just the food noise for people, but the alcohol noise, the gambling noise, the smoking noise, the you name it. It is really amazing what these medications are doing for so many people. And there are actual clinical trials. If you go to clinicaltrials.gov and just look up tirzepatide or semaglutide or liraglutide, then you're going to be able to familiarize yourself with some of those studies that are going on, which are quite exciting. And we've talked about some of them on the channel. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe and go through the videos. We've got a ton of videos on this stuff. Started taking it this week. Oh, Sandra did. You haven't noticed anything? So just for the record, what I had to learn for myself is I have to take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, and I take 2 of them. It says take 2 of them daily, so I take 2 of them at the same time, first thing in the morning. I don't know if that helps anybody or not, but hopefully it will. Laura's excited to see if they help their mom. I really hope that it helps your mom. I really do. Liz, 23 pounds to go. That's awesome. Telehealth is changing doses, 4.25. Yeah, the reason they're doing that, Mackenzie, is because they have to offer doses that are not commercially available if they're going to offer them long term, because the shortage is over. That's probably going to be resolved in the next few weeks here. That's a bigger conversation. We've done lots of videos on it and tons of articles at OnThePen.com on it too, sort of the current situation. But Mackenzie, that's makes sense that they're offering the non-commercially available doses, because that's what 503As are allowed to do, even if there's no shortage going on. So that's an offer that many are making. Mimi, how are you tonight? Good to hear from you. I hope you're doing well over in Australia. It's gonna be about lunchtime for you, right? 67 watching and only 23 likes. Yeah, if y'all could hit the thumbs up button, that's always super helpful. Ann's in Florida, awesome. Hope our new government and administration that starts in January with adding RFK Jr. in charge of the FDA will fight for lower prices for our meds. I've shared a little bit about that. It's still really close to the election, and a lot of people are triggered by even talking about a new administration. But I am bullish on accessibility to GLP-1s, and I kind of laid that out, I think in a video yesterday or the day before. I have my reasons for being bullish on it. I think 2 things. And again, I'm just talking about GLP-1s, not talking about anything else, just talking about GLP-1s. RFK Jr., if he's put in charge of the NIH, which oversees the FDA, is very pro-peptides. He's actually tweeted about being serious about ending the FDA's war on peptides, right? Big Pharma doesn't like peptides. Peptides are very helpful for people. So that's a good thing, because all these medications that we're talking about so far, and all the ones that are on the market now, are all peptides. And plus, he seems to be pretty antagonistic to pharmaceutical companies. That said, I don't think that him helping them defend their patents in the form of the funny business that's going on with the FDA shortage lists is going to be very high on his priority list. So for those reasons, I'm bullish on accessibility with the new administration, but we'll see. There's other reasons that you could argue in the other direction too. It just sort of depends on who ends up in charge of what. And that's what we'll continue to follow here at OnThePen, because as it relates to this community and what we talk about here, which is strictly anti-obesity medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, Saxenda, Victoza, Trulicity, Mounjaro, Zepbound, and Compound. That's what we talk about here. So your telehealth compounded your tirzepatide with L-carnitine. Have you heard of this? 100%, yeah. L-carnitine, B vitamins, B12, B6. Yeah, that custom form, again, 503As, when the shortage is over, 503As will still be able to compound it, but they'll have to do custom formulations like C-Shill is talking about, mixing tirzepatide with something else. How long they'll be able to get away with that, I don't know, because like I said, the doctors are going to have to make a medical case for every single prescription that they write that they add something to, especially if that patient has been on a version of tirzepatide that didn't have that and it was well tolerated through the dosage. It's going to be very hard for them to make that case medically, and I think Eli Lilly is going to argue. The other thing is that they can offer non-commercially available doses. As somebody earlier mentioned in the chat, they were getting 4.5 milligrams instead of 5 or 4 milligrams, whatever it was. Custom dosing is another reason that 503As can do it, regardless of what's going on with the shortage. So you're seeing everybody sort of shift to versions of these compounds that are actually truly compounded. They're custom formulations with tirzepatide plus or semaglutide plus something else, or they're going to these doses that are not commercially available. Hope that makes sense. That clarification makes sense. The 503Bs, when there's a shortage, they can mass produce essentially a copy of the branded medication, right? But the shortages for tirzepatide are over, even though it's being fought in the court. And Novo Nordisk moved about 2 weeks ago to have semaglutide removed from the shortage. That will end up in a fight too. And we're following very closely how that's all going to pan out and what's all happened. Again, check it out at OnThePen.com. We've got tons of articles about that, and we've got tons of videos over here about that. Nobody follows this stuff closer than we do at OnThePen. We eat, sleep, live, breathe this stuff every day. Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. Shame on what the U.S. is charging for Zepbound. No insurance covers $550 a month. Yeah, it's rough. Our health system is rough. I mean, you could say on the other end, 87% of people who are on Mounjaro are paying $25 for it. 85% of the people who are on Wegovy are paying $25 for it. So it's like, it sucks for the people who don't have coverage. For the people that do have coverage, they basically get it free. I mean, $25 compared to $650 or $550 is basically free, especially when you consider that they can often fill 3 months at a time for $25. So it's a broken system. It leaves a lot of people out. I think that's why low key what Eli Lilly's doing, going direct to consumer and getting the PBMs out of it, is interesting, but it's still too expensive. Don't get me wrong. My cardiologist already said that he can't make my case anymore without a documented heart attack or stroke. Now I'm paying $650 out of pocket per month. That is brutal, and I would highly recommend that you look at options for potential for compounded. If that is something that you're willing to look into, talk to your doctor about that for sure. Especially if that $650 is, putting you in a bad way. I went off Mounjaro at the beginning of 2024. End of 2023, early 2024, I was on Ozempic for 3 or 4 months. And during that time, I was on the highest dose, the 2 milligrams weekly, and I gained 10 pounds during that time. I actually felt more full, oddly enough. Like I felt physically more full than I ever really have on tirzepatide. But I gained 10 pounds during that time, which is very hard to take back off. I had to fight tooth and nail to get that 10 pounds off. And now I'm headed back in the right direction. Now that I've added the can't wait, I got the scale moving again. Now I'm back into the 270s, which is down to where I was at my lowest weight on this journey, or very close to, just a couple pounds off. But anyway, I digress. Many people have kind of done that. I don't know that there's any clinical data out there that is meaningful that you could go, yeah, you reset your receptors or, whatever. I think people hypothesize about that, but I'm on the 15 milligrams of Mounjaro, and I take once daily, I take Can't Wait, the supplement from integrative peptides. That is the DNF10 short chain peptide that acts on leptin and ghrelin, 2 other potential weight loss pathways, right? But it's a nutraceutical over-the-counter peptide that I found basically in my research about peptides and patents. Really is what led me down this rabbit hole ultimately to find integrated peptides. And they have other things. They're 503B, so they comply with the CGMP, the current goods and manufacturing process, which is FDA regulated. So they sell BPC 157, they sell some gut health stuff, they sell and this Can't Wait stuff. And if you'd like to check it out, you can check it out at integrativepeptides.com and use code OTP10 to save 10%. A little bit of that goes back to, if you use the code, a little bit of it goes back to the channel too to support what we do here. So always a cool thing. Any other questions before we log it off tonight? I appreciate hanging out. I was hoping that this would get pushed to the Shorts feed and we would get some more people from outside of the GLP-1 world. But if you're new here, thank you for hanging out with us tonight on this impromptu live. We've got about 60 people in here, so if you would like to hit the thumbs up button and get that number up a little bit. And then once this live stream ends, you can go back to the video and just leave an emoji that best represents how you felt about this live stream. The interaction once this goes live helps to push it out to more people. So it's just a great way to help this thing grow. Is there a compound tirzepatide that won't end up being $400 a month with a super, compounds ironically are not that much cheaper than the branded medication for people with paying with the half off ish card. So I always roll my eyes when people call Eli Lilly greedy, because it's like, well, everybody's in it for money. Nobody's giving this stuff away, and they're all making it on the cheap. Matter of fact, I'm sure per vial, the compounders make it much cheaper than Lilly does, because Lilly's manufacturing the pens, and Lilly has to go through a lot of FDA stuff that compounders don't. Oh, and there's also the R&D and all of that. So, plus compounders have been able to basically, at least the telehealths have been able to pay people that are influencers to just go out and hawk their stuff all day. Pharmaceutical companies have their hands tied quite a bit when it comes to having salespeople out there representing their stuff, what they can do, what they can and can't say. So Mounjaro is very effective medication. Yeah, it's the best one on the market from the clinical trial data. Well, thank you for being here and hanging out with me tonight. Tomorrow, I'm excited to announce that we've got an interview with Dr. Spencer Nadolski. We got Dr. Spencer's coming back on, so make sure that you join tomorrow night on the Pen Live, 9 p.m. Central. Happens every Thursday night live. Tomorrow's our 90th episode of On the Pen Live. Thank you, your local Ninja 19. I appreciate that. Thank you for being here. I hope you'll hit subscribe if you haven't done that yet. Thank you for those who are smashing the thumbs up button before we go. Thank you for being the best part of what we do. Until next time, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.